I've always been real big on fishing, but today I'm stepping out of my comfort zone and trying something I've never done before, which is deer hunting. Now, I've hunted all kinds of stuff like squirrels, rabbits, armadillos, and possums, but I've never been able to shoot a deer or even sit in a deer stand. So I'm going to see if someone like me who has zero deer hunting experience can actually go out in the woods and take home a trophy deer. Well, let's be honest, we're probably not going to see any trophy deer, but I'd be happy to take home just about anything. Now, keep in mind, I am brand new to deer hunting, so if you have any advice, I would love to hear it in the comments. And don't worry, if you need to correct me on something, I'm all ears. But before we can go do any kind of hunting, we gotta first get our gear together. Now, even though I've never gone deer hunting, I really do love guns, so I have plenty of different ones to choose from. I'm gonna go really quick and show you why I chose the one that I chose. So first up, we got a Mossberg Maverick 88. It's a 12 gauge shotgun, but I'm not gonna be going with that. I'm going primarily for meat, and so I don't wanna pepper it with a whole bunch of pellets from some buckshot. This is Black Aces Tactical Buckshot. I do not recommend it. I got it on sale for dirt cheap. It does not eject properly. Half the time it messes up. Just don't buy this ammo. I just had this. This was what was in the shotgun, so I just set it aside. Anyways, next up we have an AR-15 that shoots 5.56 or 223. To me, this is a little bit underpowered for deer. I know you can kill deer. I know plenty of people have killed deer. Personally, I want something that's going to put the deer down a lot faster, so I'm not going to go with the AR-15. This is an AR-10. It's a Bear Creek Arsenal BC-10. This one's a Palmetto State Armory PSA-15, I believe, something like that. It's their own brand of AR-15. Anyways, so back to the Bear Creek. This shoots 308, so if you look, compared to the 5.56, the 308 has a bigger projectile and a lot more powder. It's carrying a whole lot more energy, and that's going to put down the animal a lot faster, a lot more efficiently, and it's going to be a lot more humane. The final option we could go with is a regular deer rifle. This is a Mossberg. I forget the model of it. It's a bolt action rifle, and it shoots 30-06. Now, this is 30-06. Next to that 308, it's got a lot more powder, a lot more energy. Although the bullets, like the actual projectile on the tip themselves, those are the exact same size. Okay, reason number one why I went with this is this right here. This magazine holds 20 rounds, while this gun can only hold 3. Now, that doesn't usually matter when you're doing something like deer hunting because you really only need one shot. However, the place that I'm going deer hunting is known for having a lot of feral hogs, and there's some big ones. If you know anything about feral hogs, they can and will attack human beings, and they are very territorial. So I don't want to sit here and have something charging at me, and I got to sit there and pull back the bolt every single time. And then once I shoot 3 times, if I miss, I'm pretty much messed up. So I want something that's going to give me the best chance of survival if a hog were to attack. And on top of that, this also has a suppressor. This is going to help my hearing, but it's also not going to alert nearly as many deer. Now, when this shoots, it's not going to be silent. It's going to sound like an unsuppressed 22, but it will be hearing safe, and that gunshot rapport is not going to go nearly as far as it would unsuppressed. So instead of it sounding like a crack of thunder across the entire woods, it's going to sound pretty loud within 100 yards, and past that, it's going to be very faint and very quiet. So that's why I'm going with this gun instead of this one, is to, first of all, protect myself from hogs, and to protect my hearing and keep the deer very clueless about my being there. That way, the other people that are on the lease won't be upset at me for running off all their deer. Now, I know a lot of you guys might have a different choice of what you would have gone with, so let me know in the comments what your go-to deer hunting rifle or deer hunting gun is. Now, for the camo that we're going to be wearing, this is from a company called Be Still Gear. I'll put their link in the description and the comment real quick. But guys, you've got to check this out. So in the camo print, they put in the armor of God. So you got the helmet of salvation, the breastplate of righteousness, the sword of the spirit, the shield of faith, the shoes of the preparation of peace, the belt of truth, all this stuff, and different scriptures written into the camo pattern. It's really cool. I love that they made a camo that also preaches the gospel and reminds you about the Lord while you're out hunting your deer or whatever else you're hunting. I'm going to be wearing this all hunting season. They did not sponsor this video. They did not send me any money to talk about this. I just really love this brand. That's what we're going to be wearing, as well as a ghillie suit for my pants and possibly even the top if it's cold enough. But man, I'm real excited to take this thing out, test it out. I've made sure to wash it with the scent-free soaps and all that other stuff. I'm hoping to get like a buck that's maybe a 6, 7, I don't know, something like that pointer. And that's what we're going to go for. So I'll go ahead and head out tomorrow morning, first thing in the morning. Okay, it's the morning of the hunt. I'm all prepped and ready. Got all the scent spray sprayed. I did keep the bottle. It's in the car with me. I'm going to spray everything down a second time when I get out to the deer stand. Excuse me, that's a Mountain Dew there. I've been up since 2 o'clock this morning. I was so excited, went to bed early, woke up at 2 o'clock in the morning, and I've been watching deer hunting videos all morning, getting myself prepared. So I think I'm pretty much an expert now with all these hours of research done. But we're gonna go out there and fingers crossed, we're gonna get us a nice deer. I got out there bright and early before sunrise, loaded up my gun, got everything prepped and ready, sprayed everything down with my scent control spray, and now we're ready to start hunting. I parked about 600 yards from the deer stand, so it's going to be a good little bit of walking, but I'm trying to be as quiet as possible and leave as little scent as possible. I have also set out some corn, which is legal in Louisiana. However, it's only been out for about a day, so I don't think the deer are going to be coming to it just yet. There are squirrels everywhere up in the trees. Right off the bat, the first thing I noticed is a ton of squirrels in this area. There were 3 of them chasing each other through the trees, not even 10 yards away from me, all over the place. These guys were going nuts the entire time I was deer hunting, which is kind of crazy because most of the time when I go squirrel hunting, I don't see hardly anything. And out here, just sitting still for about 10 minutes, you could not look anywhere without seeing squirrels. There's literally a squirrel right there. Oh my gosh, they're everywhere. They're all over the place. There's about 20 squirrels just running all around me. I've had them literally right here next to me. That's insane. I've never seen so many squirrels in one place in my life. All right, I took my phone out for a second. Just wanted to give you guys a good look at what we're working with. We've got this lane off to the right. We've got this lane nice to the middle. We've got another lane that's a little bit tough to see, but that one's off to the left. And then behind us, we've got a good clearing. So we can see pretty far that way. We can see a little bit that way. We can see pretty good this way. And we can see pretty good that way. We know this area is a fairly high deer traffic area. And as you can see earlier, we had squirrels everywhere that came up and they were right here in front of me. Didn't even see me until I started pointing the gun at them to try and get a good video. But there's a lot of big oak trees that drop plenty of acorns. So when the acorns hit the ground, this becomes a nice feeding plot for all the deer. We do, of course, have some corn set out there, but we only set it out yesterday. So there's no telling if the deer are even gonna find it. I know a lot of you are probably gonna be laughing at me because it's only like 50 degrees and I think it's freezing cold. But I'm used to like 80, 90 degree weather. That's what I like. So 50 degree weather is not it. But I want to get as much hunting done at the beginning of the season. That way when it's really cold, I don't have to be out here at all. All right, we're gonna have to come back later. But while I was in the tree, I saw antlers down here. Which, from the looks of it, they had some rope tied on it, so maybe that was to clank together or something. I don't know. But pretty cool. All right, we're gonna quietly make our way out, but if we see anything, we'll stop and try to shoot it. I wasn't sure how long I should stay in the deer stand, so I just stayed for about 4 hours, maybe 5, something like that. And at lunchtime, I headed in to go get some lunch, which was the biggest mistake I made, which was not just staying in the deer stand for an extra hour. Because when I was coming back up to the deer stand, I got right to the base of the ladder to climb up, looked to my left, and saw an 8-point buck just staring me down. And of course, I didn't have my phone ready, I didn't have my gun ready, and I was about to climb a deer stand, so I was not prepared for it. And as soon as I pulled my phone out and started to record, he was gone. I literally just got spotted by a massive buck as I was walking back to the deer stand. You've got to be freaking kidding me. I'm gonna go up there and wait anyways. Maybe he'll come back. Pretty much gonna stay here until it gets dark, and then we'll head home. I'm really hoping that buck comes back. I sat watching out for him for another few hours and saw absolutely no movement, which was super discouraging because that was such a good buck. Now, I always thought the deer only came out early in the morning and late in the evening, so to see a deer at the middle of the day was kind of surprising. I was actually hoping to see maybe a hog or something in the middle of the day to shoot, but not expecting deer. So if you guys could tell me when the best times to hunt are, that would be awesome. I did see a whole bunch of squirrels start moving as the day got later, but for the first day, it seemed like nothing was going to come out. I'm wondering if I could bring like a granola bar or something tomorrow. Just something that won't like stink to the deer, but that I can still kind of eat because I'm starving right now. I've been sitting up here for probably about 10 hours at this point, and we saw that one buck, of course, when we were coming back up to the stand. Other than that, it's been nothing but squirrels, birds, the occasional other critter, but nothing big. I feel like such an idiot for earlier. I literally was like, maybe I should stay for another hour or two and then go get lunch. I was like, nah, I'm gonna go get lunch now. So I get down out of the stand, and as I'm walking back with the gun, at least an 8-point buck just standing there staring at me. Of course, I'm like trying to be as slow as possible and move my gun, and he just took off running. It's so aggravating, but at the same time, it's good news. At least I saw something today. That means there's traffic through here. There's definitely deer that come through here. Got about 15 minutes before I need to start packing things up. I need to set my trail camera time and everything else up before I leave, just to see if anything's coming here whenever I'm gone. This just looks like such a promising spot with 4 lanes meeting up in one spot. But we might have spooked off our deer over here earlier today. That might have been the only thing coming this way. And as it turns out, that's exactly what happened, because nothing came for the rest of that day. As I was walking out, I did see a couple of rabbits, but shooting a rabbit with a .308 is not advised, so I ended up passing on those guys, unfortunately, and coming back out the next day. This time, I decided to go 2 hours after sunrise instead, because they were moving in the middle of the day, just to see if that would give me a better chance, and unfortunately, it did not. I think that by scaring that buck, we might have kept him away from this area, at least for a good little while. It's a lot warmer today. It's about 80 degrees right now, so I'm just wearing the camo shirt. I'm not wearing like the full getup. It's just way too hot for that right now. I've begun to realize the value of a very comfortable deer stand seat. This wire metal stuff here is not the best to be sitting on for 6+ hours straight. But we're about 2 hours into the hunt. Haven't seen anything except for a couple crows, which you can probably hear in the background every now and then. But we gonna wait. This is just part of deer hunting, I guess. The big buck I saw yesterday, I was talking to my buddy Carlos, who's let me hunt here. I just wish I got it on camera. He did send me a picture of a buck that looks just like it that he got on his trail camera. Anyways, I'm gonna show y'all that. So this is a very good sized buck, especially for Louisiana. Down here in Louisiana, we don't get very big deer like y'all do up north. Usually our whitetail are pretty small. So to have one that big down here is like perfect. Only problem is, if he's smart, he's probably not gonna come back. We like locked eyes and everything, so it's just part of the game, I guess. I really shouldn't have left yesterday. I should have just brought some snacks like today. I called my buddy Robert and I was like, hey, this may be a dumb question, but can I eat snacks in the deer stand? And then he was like, yeah, just make sure you're not making a lot of noise and make sure it's not going to be something that's going to scare the deer off. So I read something that deer like peanut butter, so I figured Nutty Buddy bars would be a safe bet. I'm probably going to look like an idiot in this video, but take it easy on me, I'm just starting out. And even though the deer weren't really moving too much today, the squirrels were everywhere. They did get a little bit annoying because every time I'd hear a crash or a branch snap, I'd look over really quickly, expecting a nice deer, only to see a squirrel bum rushing towards me. This little guy started to get in a staring contest with me once he realized I was in the tree he was trying to climb. And so it's pretty funny to see him like literally about 20 feet away from me, just staring me down. Just did the math. We've been hunting for 20 hours, obviously not in a row. And the most we did is see a buck, of course. when I was outside the stand. So, at this point, I don't think we're gonna get it today. I am gonna stay until official sunset, and then maybe about 10 minutes after that. But it's not looking good right now, to be honest. Okay, it is officially sunset. I know it looks brighter on my phone, but it is getting dark a little bit. I've got 30 minutes now, timer ticking down very quickly. I think I really messed up by scaring away that buck yesterday. I don't think he's gonna come back. I think he's spooked. And now that he knows that I'm hunting here, he's pretty big, so he's probably pretty smart. And I don't think he's gonna come back. My biggest fear is getting down, only to see that buck in that same exact spot staring at me again. All right, well, day 2 is a bust. I guess we're gonna be back out here again tomorrow. At this point, I thought maybe it's best to just show up extra early, so I showed up 30 minutes before shooting light, so an hour before actual sunrise, to make sure I had the best possible chance of seeing this deer. Now keep in mind, I am brand new to hunting, so I don't know all the ins and outs, and I'm just trying to figure out how to hunt this deer most efficiently, and this seemed to be the best possible strategy. Now, 20 hours of sitting on a cold metal deer stand will do a lot of things to you, but the biggest thing it'll do is try your patience. But now that patience was finally about to pay off. The deer was super on edge and ended up leaving as soon as it showed up, but it came back just a couple minutes later. And if I have a single biggest regret, it's what I did with this deer right here. So I was hoping that the buck would come out behind it, or maybe there'd be a bigger doe behind it, or something like that. I don't know really what size a deer should be. I know you can't shoot them when they got spots, but aside from that, I'm not an expert on like how big a deer needs to be to shoot it. And so I decided I was going to pass on this deer and wait for that buck to come back or a bigger doe. And this is the biggest regret to this day that I have with this entire trip. When I hunt, it is for fun, but it's also primarily for food. And this deer would taste just as good as a trophy buck. But because I was being so greedy and I really wanted my buck, I decided to wait to shoot. And after about 5 minutes of sitting here and eating, this doe ran off, never to be seen again. And that really wouldn't be too much of a problem if I was seeing deer pretty consistently, but this is the only deer I've seen after 23 hours of hunting. Aside from that doe, I haven't seen anything else. I haven't even really seen the squirrels that active, which is kind of weird. Yesterday and the day before that, the squirrels were everywhere. But anyways, at least we've seen something. I think if another doe that size or bigger or a buck comes out, I'm taking my shot. Looking back, I probably should have just gone ahead and dropped that doe. Meat is meat, and I'm not guaranteed to even see another one. So I'm kind of kicking myself now. I had a perfect shot. We're going to spend all day in this stand if I've got to, and if we don't get anything, then I am going to take a break. Maybe for a few days, maybe a week, and then come back at it later. But I'm really, really hoping that we can get something, because if not, I'm gonna really be kicking myself for not shooting that doe. But it is what it is. Can't change the past. I can only change how I react to the future. So that's what I'll do. The next deer that touches that corn is going down, as long as it doesn't have spots. If it don't got spots, it's getting got. And so for the rest of the day, I sat waiting for another animal to show up, and there was absolutely nothing. The only animal I saw for the entirety of this day after that deer was a little lizard that was climbing next to me on the stand, but that was it. And that taught me that when I see a deer that I would be happy to shoot, I need to just shoot it instead of waiting for something better to come along. I need to just be satisfied with what the Lord has provided me with. I've now been sitting here for 9 hours, and I could have gotten away with shooting that one on the first hour. Alright, well, it may look a little bit brighter on camera, but I can't really see through my scope right now. So I think we're just going to slowly ease out of the deer stand and head back home. That makes a grand total of 34 hours with nothing to show for it. Dang. The next day, I pretty much did the exact same thing I did on day 3. I woke up early in the morning, went out there before sunrise, waited all morning, and didn't see anything, but my patience had worn thin, and I made another critical mistake. I have reached the point where this is no longer fun. I'm cold. The only movement I've seen is 2 little squirrels, and to be honest with you, if I don't see a deer by like 10 o'clock, I'm just gonna go squirrel hunting. I've come to the conclusion that the deer must know I'm here. I've checked my trail camera. Nothing's been coming at night. Nothing's coming at all. So my choices now are either keep sitting up here and being very cold and seeing nothing, or I can go do some squirrel hunting. So I'm gonna go do some squirrel hunting. My patience had worn so thin that I decided squirrel hunting would be better, which is kind of funny because as soon as I got down from this stand, there were deer moving close to my lane, which I didn't even know about until my buddy Carlos sent me a trail cam video 10 minutes later telling me that some deer went running from the direction of my deer stand, which means they were headed straight to me. I never saw them, and if I had waited another hour, I could have shot a deer. But of course I didn't know that, and so I went to my car and grabbed my air gun. This is actually called a Hatsan Flash Pup. It's a 25 caliber air gun, and this thing is a beast for taking out squirrels and rabbits. I don't think I've ever used it on the channel before, but I'm going to try and use it today to get some squirrels and rabbits. But the deer must have told the squirrels what I did, because I hunted from 9:30 in the morning all the way until 6:30 at night without being able to see a single squirrel that was in range for the gun or a rabbit. And so it wasn't until sunset that I finally got my chance to get a little bit of action. All right. This is the kind of stuff I'm looking for. A bunch of pine trees. A lot of times with squirrels, you hear them before you see them, especially on these little pine trees. As I crawl up, you hear that sound. You hear them scratching on the pine trees. So that's what we're kind of listening for. I'm trying to stay on the path and not go off anywhere where there's going to be deer stands or anywhere where my scent might drive away the deer. So we're going to try and stick to this main road. This is the perfect gun for squirrel and rabbit hunting. It's very quiet, so whenever I'm hunting during deer season, I don't want to use a shotgun or something else that's going to make a loud noise and drive off the deer. So this is the perfect gun to do it with. If you guys want to see me do a video where I only use this gun and do some squirrel and rabbit hunting, let me know in the comments down below. But my main goal for right now is to just go out and bring something home. I can hear a squirrel calling, but it's on the other side of these woods. Hear that? Listen. That sound. Squirrels have this call that goes something like this. Something like that. Now, have I ever called in a squirrel like that? No. But do I think it's a cool noise to make? Yes. And I hear another one out that way. The problem is, all this is good deer territory, so I don't want to go in there stinking up with my scent. Some other people hunt this land, and I really don't want to scare off all their deer. That's why I'm kind of sticking to this road. But I have seen a ton of squirrels out here. Of course, every time I've come out here, I've only had my deer rifle. So 308 on a squirrel would just vaporize it instead of, being able to get some meat. So that's why I haven't shot any yet. And as the sun started to set, that's when all the rabbits came out to play. And because rabbits have a whole lot more meat than squirrels, I shifted my attention from the trees to the ground. We're trying not to spook him. We got a massive rabbit up ahead. Dang it. He just made a bunch of noise too. Dadgummit. These cleared out lanes were perfect for spotting rabbits, but it was also perfect for the rabbits to spot me, so it was going to be difficult to get one close enough to shoot it without spooking it first. But luckily for me, as the sun was just dipping below the trees, I finally got a little taste of action. Is that a rabbit? What the crap is that? That's definitely a rabbit. Definitely a rabbit. Oh my gosh, I'm not loaded. Dropped him immediately. Oh my gosh, finally. that was an instant flop over. Oh my gosh. I hope the angle is good. I got this strapped to my chest. Oh yeah, he's gone. Oh wow. He looked like a little root ball or something. It was so hard to see and it was so dark and bundled up. I had to put my scope on 9 times just to be able to take it, to be able to see it without getting too close. But oh, thank the Lord. Oh, it's been rough. It's been a rough week, but that just made everything worth it. All right, legal shooting light is up, and this is what 4 days of hunting looks like right now. Now, if you look, compared to my shoe, that is a pretty decent sized rabbit right there, but that is not the deer that I was going after when I started this video. All right, so we have our good sized rabbit here. I'm gonna go ahead and process this guy. We're gonna be saving all of the remains, aside from the meat, for something else that's gonna come in the future, so y'all have to see that later. But man, I'm gonna be honest, 40 plus hours of hunting, and this is really all that we have to show for it, and it's a little bit discouraging. Even though this isn't the giant deer that I was expecting, it's still some meat in the freezer, and it still was a very valuable learning experience. But I'm not done learning, and if you guys could tell me what I did wrong, things that I could do better next time, I'd love to hear it. I am sorry. I know this video is probably not going to be as entertaining as you guys wanted. I really did want to get a deer for you guys, but sadly, that just didn't happen, and most of that's probably my fault, or definitely my fault, at least in the case of that doe. But if you guys could give me some good constructive criticism and some good ideas of what I should do next time, that would be awesome. Today's scripture comes from Proverbs 13:20, and it says, "Walk with wise people and become wise, befriend fools and get in trouble." Make sure you're surrounding yourself with people who are giving you a positive influence in your life, and I hope all of you have a wonderful week. And if you love the camo that I was wearing in this video, I'll go ahead and put a link in the description and the pinned comment so you guys can check out Be Still Gear. They're an awesome Christian company based here in Louisiana, and I want to do everything I can to support them because they are awesome. I'm sorry I wasn't able to get a good deer for you guys. I'll catch y'all in the next video where I definitely will get something better. And as always, guys, Jesus loves you, I love you, and have a great week.